Our moderator this evening is going to be Dwayne Ediger, who will tell us about tonight's program and get things started.
All right, my name is Dwayne Ediger. I've been in Tucson about half of Sustainable Tucson's lifetime, and I'm proud to be a part of. Uh, uh, we're almost achieved adulthood. We're right on the cusp, and I think this year maybe we can take some steps into adulthood if we take advantage of feeling in a new decade. And you can be a part of that. And tonight, I think we're going to have a lot of ideas that will help shape our thinking for the next year and years. And I'm not going to say too much more, except I'm going to go into what our format is. We have three speakers tonight, and Jana will be introducing each of them before they share. Each one will have an opportunity to speak for about 10 minutes, and then up to 5 minutes of question and answer after each speaker. And then if there's still some time left over, if we've managed our time well up to that point, we'll have some more Q&A before announcements and the typical closing of our program. Um, that's about it. I guess the only thing that I need to do at this point is to ask Jana to unmute and be prepared to give introductions. She's going to give them each to each speaker before they speak. And so as the person is going through their presentation, we'll let them continue and then have a chance for questions afterwards. So if that's clear, then take it away, Jana.
Hi, I'm Janice Siegel-Stormont. I'm the lead of the Water Committee and Sustainable Tucson's environmental advocacy email list. So some of you guys might have heard of this meeting tonight from that email list. And if not, you can email me at jana at sustainabletucson.org to be added to that email list. So I'm really pleased to introduce Priya Sundareshan. And I have a little bio to read. Um, Priya is the Senate Democratic leader for the 57th Arizona legislature. She was elected to the Arizona Senate in 2023 to represent Legislative District 18. She is currently a ranking member of the Senate Federalism Committee and also sits on the Natural Resources Committee. Born and raised in LED 18, Priya loves Tucson and the opportunities that she has had for an excellent public education and exploring the outdoors. She has taught natural resources law at the University of Arizona and previously advocated for sustainable resource management with the Environmental Defense Fund. As a voting rights advocate, Priya has led voter protection efforts and engagement on redistricting within the Arizona Democratic Party. Having studied engineering at MIT and law and natural resource economics at the U of A, she knows that we need more science-based decision-making in politics, especially when it comes to preserving our beautiful state for future generations. As a mother of two children, Priya wants her children and all children to inherit a sustainable world and a sustainable Arizona. Take it away, Priya.
Okay, thanks so much, Jana, and thank you all for having me. I see so many familiar faces, so it's good to see you all. Um, my bio kind of told it all, right? I have a background in environmental advocacy. That's what has drawn me into politics and in the state legislature in the first place. And so that's really what's motivated a lot of what I have done at the state legislature. Um, I I did the bio doesn't say that when I went to law school at the U of A, Kirsten was my professor. She taught me environmental law and administrative law. So it's also great that I kind of when I ran for the legislature was right as she was exiting. So it felt like we needed a strong Tucson voice for the environment in the legislature. So um, I can talk. So yeah, I guess this is my. I'm in. It's kind of a weird mood and a weird week because this is the week before the legislative session starts. I think Sandy will probably talk more about environmental priorities unveiling tomorrow. But it's also kind of a weird feeling for me. This is going to be my fourth legislative session, which is really not that long. I've only been in the legislature for 2 terms, so not even 2 terms fully. But in my first term, I was immediately ranking member on the Natural Resources Committee. I'm really thankful that the Senate Democratic Caucus, saw my environmental background and decided I could be the ranking member, even though I was new to the legislature, completely new. This last year, because I became Senate Democratic leader, I did step down from being ranking member of the Natural Resources Committee, but I refused to get rid of my position on the Natural Resources Committee because I still think that I have to be there and I have to represent and provide whatever knowledge and background that I have. So that's kind of a basic thing. I think I'll talk a little bit about kind of bills that I've introduced over the last few years that have unfortunately not changed much in the last 3 years. And there'll be a few new ones this next session, but all of the rest are going to continue because as the Republicans currently have the majority in the legislature, they rarely hear any Democratic bills. And so I have lots of great ideas and none of them have gotten hearings. So, for example, I care a lot about climate change and clean energy. And so ever since my first session, I've introduced bills and or memorials to ask or require the Corporation Commission to adopt the updated renewable portfolio standards that they had been considering now over 5 years ago, around 5 years ago, and they had considered it for 3 years and finally it failed to be adopted. And of course, they have a Republican majority. Now they're all Republicans on the Corporation Commission, so nothing good is happening there. But that's one of the bills that I've put forward year after year, and I will do again. There's also even more basic things that I think that I adopted from Kirsten and others when they were in the legislature, such as removing the preemption on state agencies from measuring greenhouse gas emissions. Even when I was in the legislature recently, we've had some pretty awful bills on electric vehicles and transportation funding. So, for example, my very first year, there was a big fight over the Maricopa County road tax that had to be sent to the ballot, and the Freedom Caucus hates electric vehicles and thinks that it's and they hate public transit, and they hate the fact that the light rail in Phoenix was being extended. And so because they really pettily did not want to even see the light rail come by the Capitol, they moved the light rail. They placed statutory language saying that the light rail could not come within a block of the Capitol. And so they had to redo the light rail extension plan. So the following year, introduced legislation to repeal that. But more importantly, they'd also put in language that would restrict Arizona's ability to move electric vehicles and zero emission vehicles forward. And so there's a lot of repeals of things that our caucus introduces. And of course, they don't get hearings either. So climate is really important. I think one of the new bills that a couple of the new bills that I'll be introducing this year are dealing with the impacts of data centers on our energy use. So, of course, that's been a huge issue here in Tucson and across the state. And so I'll be introducing a bill that's going to basically, it would adopt a large load policy that any large loads coming onto a grid would have to, essentially, the utility would have to make sure that the ratepayers are protected from bearing the burden of subsidizing that large load coming onto the grid. So that's one. Another is that there's a sales tax exemption that data centers benefit from, which is why they're so attracted to this state. And so there are talks of completely repealing that sales tax exemption, which would probably require a 2/3 vote of the legislature. But there's other ways to, with only a majority vote, we could, I would like to condition the application of that sales tax exemption only to data centers that meet certain criteria, like they are bringing their own renewable energy capacity. They are, adopting.
We on our way to cookies. Fuck this motherfucker. This is the worst chance you got in all the got kangaroo.
I think we might have someone
Hey, all the
jumping in.
with stretch marks and C-section scars.
Can somebody mute everybody and then unmute Maria?
I'm muting him and he keeps unmuting.
You can remove him from
I'm
the
trying
Zoom.
to.
Oh, yeah. That's hard when you're not planning to do
You can
that.
also unmute everybody and then give it permission to the speaker.
Okay. Should I keep going and then
Yes,
hopefully
please.
it ends? Okay. What was I saying? Oh yeah, to condition it on like good work practices, good labor practices, right? Using union labor, providing also actual jobs that are going to be past the construction of the data center itself or the anything, whatever itself, right? So a lot of conditions that could be placed on this sales tax exemption so that it's not just this open-ended giveaway. So that's
3 more minutes.
Okay, great. That's on the climate side. On the water side, there's a lot I'd like to do to strengthen our groundwater protections in the state. We have the 1980 Groundwater Management Act, but it did some things. Notably, it created our active management areas in Tucson, Phoenix, and other parts of the state. But there are a lot of loopholes, even within the active management areas, that are starting to become big issues. Like, for example, we're seeing the proliferation of the build-to-rent communities, which are single-family home subdivisions, except they're all entirely for rent. And you're seeing this a lot, like in the Marana area, if you go by the Tucson premium outlets. And one of the reasons that these are proliferating is because they don't have to, unlike subdivisions for sale, these for rent don't have to provide an assured water supply. And so this is a loophole that absolutely needs to be closed. There's other loopholes as well, like these subdivisions, only if they have 6 or more homes have to provide the assured water supply. So if you have less than 6 homes, then you don't, right? And that's what led to a lot of big news stories a couple of years ago with the Rio Verde foothills community. And so we still haven't fixed that entirely either, which means we're going to have a lot of these issues just waiting to pop up. Rural groundwater is the other big loophole. We protected groundwater in some parts of the state, but everywhere else it is complete open access. And we're seeing that in a lot of parts of the state, La Paz County, Cochise County, et cetera, where big corporate pumpers can just move in next door, and now your home with your well no longer is able to access water. And so I've been introducing bills, especially this last year. I introduced a bill that was supported even by Republican elected officials from across the state. So there was a lot of negotiation already that went into the process. We introduced it. We couldn't get a Republican lawmaker to co-sponsor it, and we couldn't get it heard in committee, right? So even that kind of a bipartisan bill couldn't even move forward because the Farm Bureau essentially said, no, we would like a less restrictive, more free-for-all option to move forward, one that would really do nothing to protect groundwater.
Half a minute to close up.
Okay. And last thing is Colorado River. We're going to have to do something on it. The Arizona legislature has to approve whatever deal is made, but it's not looking great. I am wearing the sweatshirt I won at the Colorado River Conference, the Raise the River sweatshirt, that I saw Carl Flessa there as well. So it was great to be there, but it was also very depressing. It's clear that the states are not really anywhere close to an agreement. So I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions. Also, this is my little son who's 3, almost 4.
Thank you, Priya. So now we want to just open it. We think about the next 10 years and that layout of issues and situations, and you're welcome to probe any of those areas that you would like for another 4 or 5 minutes.
Stephen, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
If this year proves to be vain again, and you do get reelected, a majority in the next session, what would your first priorities be as the leader?
Thanks, Stephen. That's a lot. Yeah. So this is an election year, and a lot is at stake, including, the Republicans in charge are going to want to make all of our statewide electeds look bad, including the governor, including the AG. So they're not going to do anything that's really, truly productive. I am hopeful. I continue to hope, that I will get a Republican co-sponsor on that rural groundwater bill. But I don't have high hopes because there's not much incentive for anyone to really do that bipartisan coming together. That said, there was one water bill that we did have bipartisan kind of agreement on this past year. It's not like anything like earth shattering or really moving the ball forward. It was the ag to urban bill, but it was essentially like, thanks to the Democrats, we got it in a place that it was fine. It was okay. It was not as bad, let me just say, as the versions. It certainly was nowhere near as bad as the versions that they tried to push last year, and possibly might lead to some kind of groundwater savings if development's occurring. So that was the only kind of bright spot, but otherwise, no, that's not. I basically know that we won't make forward progress on any of this until we are in the majority, which thankfully we have a great shot to do, and that's going to take up a lot of my time this year as well, is getting us there. And that's when I will want to see all of my bills that I just talked about get hearings and move forward. And so if you're in a district where you think your legislator may not be already on board, then make sure that you are represented by folks who are going to be able to help move these environmental issues forward.
Thanks,
Priya,
Stephen. And Priya, I'm going to open Bruce, go ahead.
Priya, you've talked about the difficulty in getting a hearing before committees. Is there any parliamentary trick, loophole, angle, approach, or other way, as long as there's a Republican majority, to get a hearing either in a committee or to bypass the committee altogether? I'm thinking of, is there any angle?
There are some tricks that can be pulled, but you can't pull them too often because then the Republicans will change the rules on a majority vote. And so you can, for example, and we have done some actions to bring bills directly to the floor. And we did that was it last year? I think it was last year in 2024 when the Supreme Court made their ruling on the 1864 abortion ban, and we were able to move the bills that would have repealed those. And thankfully, Democratic lawmakers, including Tucson's Stephanie Stahl Hamilton, had that bill ready to go, repealing that abortion ban. But and so we had to kind of, even as I understand it, our leadership had to work with Republican leadership who were, had to be convinced to let it go to the floor to do that. But Stephanie and I actually did that without giving the leadership a heads up on the right to contraception in our respective chambers. And that was a big deal. It made like some news, which was great. I got to get on MSNBC to talk about it. But yeah, you do it too
All
much,
right.
they get annoyed and they'll change the rules.
Thank you, Priya. I know that there are more questions, and Jana, I bet you probably have one, but I'm going to ask you to go ahead and introduce our second speaker, and then please save these questions. And if we have time, when after everybody has had this chance, then we can get to those. Unmute yourself, please. There you
Well,
go.
it just related to what she had already said about that one bill about the agriculture. Okay, so thank you, Priya. The Water Committee would be happy to help support any of those bills, as well as the environmental advocacy email list. So if you have a bill that you need supporting, please look us up. Our next presenter is Sandy Bahr, the director of the Grand Canyon chapter of the Sierra Club. Her responsibilities include advocating for various state and federal agencies for environmental justice and democracy, conducting research, developing and evaluating policies, conducting grassroots outreach and organizing, developing priority projects, and supervising staff. She has received a number of awards for her work, including the Arizona Interfaith Power and Light 2017 Sage Spirit Activist Greening the Earth Award and the 2019 Best Environmentalist Recognition from the Phoenix New Times and the 2023 recognition from Sitka, Arizona. Really proud to have Sandy here tonight. She does so much great work, and we couldn't do our work with the environmental advocacies without Sandy's great work on the request to speak. So Sandy, hit it.
Great. Well, thanks so much for inviting me this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces and some new ones, and so I'd love to see you all. And thank you for inviting this Phoenix interloper into your Tucson family. I hopefully won't take up the full time to leave lots of time for questions, but I know how that goes. So I'm going to try and jump into things here. The first thing I wanted to say is, don't you just want to say, phew, relative to 2025. It was quite a year, challenges at multiple levels. But of course, I think the biggest ones were from the White House and the existential threat to our democracy and our environment. They've been a rollback machine, rolling us back decades, really, on so many issues. And I think we have to brace ourselves for more to come in 2026. Relative to climate, the CAFE standards for automobiles are on the chopping block. They're trying to get delays relative to dealing with coal ash. They've already moved forward with limiting the carbon standards for power plants, and that I'm sure will be finalized this year. Repeal of the endangerment finding, which is the underpinning for climate action at EPA, and of course, methane rules. And last year, we also saw many programs defunded and a lot of workers fired. And again, I think we'll see more. Assaults on public lands were many as well. The roadless rule, they're trying to get rid of that. The Bureau of Land Management Conservation rule, they're threatening our national monuments, including the Ironwood Forest National Monument there near Tucson. And we expect to see them move forward with these in 2026. And you might not know, because of course it happened during the break time, is they are right now evaluating our nation's wildlife refuges to see if they should be kept as wildlife refuges. So for this year, expect more protests, more petitions, more efforts to move some members of Congress to hold the line, and also expect more litigation. While we cannot count on the courts to save us, we need them, and we need to challenge that which is unlawful and unconstitutional. And I would mention our Attorney General, but I know Kirsten's going to mention that. But it is good to have an Attorney General who is filing and being part of those lawsuits. And I'm sure we'll see more there as well. So here in Arizona, we've also had a lot of challenges at the Corporation Commission. They moved forward with repeals of the energy efficiency and renewable energy standards, and they'll likely finalize those repeals this year. They're rubber stamping and promoting fossil fuel generation over clean energy, and are considering massive rate increases for both Tucson Electric Power and Arizona Public Service. And again, thank goodness we have a strong AG who knows the ACC and energy issues to step in to address this. Both rate cases are going to be huge issues in 2026. Public comment for the APS rate case starts this month. Meanwhile, the utilities are pursuing unprecedented amounts of gas and a huge pipeline to bring methane gas from the Permian Basin. And again, I expect to see more of that in 2026. And without some kind of sea change, we'll see some backsliding. At the Arizona legislature last year was just god awful, and I think Senator Sundareshan maybe minimized how bad it was. I mean, there were huge numbers of horrible energy bills that advantaged fossil fuels and sought to disadvantage clean energy policies advanced by the utilities that gave a lot to shareholders to the detriment of ratepayers and our air, water, and climate. This year, we're likely to see more of those. We have 2 legislators running for the Corporation Commission and 1 former commissioner. All of those are in the House, so I'm sure we're going to see more of the same. Luckily, the governor vetoed most of those bills, but as I think a lot of folks know, she did sign those 2 utility bills, which, well, I think was a mistake. So I'll just leave it at that. Again, I expect we'll see more impediments to citing renewable energy and to promoting fossil generation. Senator Sundareshan talked quite a bit about water, but I don't know what to say. The legislature has basically demonstrated obstinance to doing anything real to protect rural groundwater, tighten up the Groundwater Management Act, or protect any of our rivers and streams. They don't even talk about them, except for the Colorado River and what it can deliver for development, as if the spigot can never been turned off. Representative Gail Griffin, who's chair of the House Natural Resources, Energy, and Water Committee, and the biggest obstacle to progress on water there, has already introduced and will be hearing several bills to codify overpumping of groundwater and creating more loopholes in the Groundwater Management Act rather than tightening things up. She even has a bill on trying to include snowpack enhancement as an augmentation measure, which is almost ludicrous because one, it's based on cloud seeding, which is very iffy. But 2, it has to be cold enough, otherwise it's going to be rain. So anyway, I didn't understand how that was going to help with the snowpack, and that bill will be up next week.
3 minutes.
Okay, and Colorado River, as nobody's talking about the health of the river or the fact that that system is going to collapse. There's no agreement in sight, and as far as allocations, and the only thing they're doing is approving money to litigate. That's not going to sustain the river. Perhaps they should look to the Colorado River Indian tribe that has established personhood for their chunk of the river. That would be a good direction to move. Let me just And
Oh, geez.
also wanted to mention Environmental Day at the Capitol on February 11th. I hope you can join us for that. And there are a bunch of data center bills that will, that in addition to the ones that Senator Sundareshan mentioned, there's one to try and provide more transparency, so limit the kind of information that can be hidden in non-disclosure agreements. And I'm very happy about that one. And I hope it at least starts a conversation. So I'll wrap it up there and take your questions.
Go ahead and raise your hand and you will be recognized. Is that Trace or Paula?
Oh,
That's Paula. Sandy, you gave us a long list of the very depressing options at the federal level. And I was wondering if there's anyone in particular besides our own representatives and senators that we should be contacting to really oppose and fight some of these particularly egregious policies and plans.
Well, you mean outside of Arizona, or you mean beyond the Democrats?
Well, both actually. I mean, we can certainly contact our Arizona folks and our own particular representatives, and we're lucky in terms of two Democratic senators and at least in LD18, CD6, some good people here. But where should the pressure go? Maybe even not Congress people, but others that we should be hammering.
Well, first of all, I would say we do need to keep communicating with people who even are mostly good. I mean, I know Senator Ruben Gallego came out with an energy plan that I don't think is a good plan. I'll just be very frank about that. Anything that says all of the above, you know, because we're already doing all of the above, and it is, you know, it's destroying the climate. So I'll just say all of the above is not a good answer. So so I think that we need to, and on the lands issues, I think, you know, Ciscomani should be pressured more. I mean, he never seems to come through, but I feel like you still need to put him on the spot. Because one of the things that could happen, and I'll just share this about Ironwood Forest National Monument, I think if he feels that repealing it is so unpopular in Tucson, and because his seat is at risk, that he might, you know, be able to get the administration to back off on it. So this is my thinking. I don't know if it's possible, but, and then, yeah, I mean, just keep up talking to, you know, both senators. I think, you know, Representative Adelita Grijalva and Representative Ansari have been, you know, really good champions, and will be. But it is good to contact them and thank them for that, because it can be a little bit demoralizing, especially if you're not getting positive feedback from people. So
yeah, that's an important step to take, to remember to thank them and encourage their support, as well as keeping after.
we hold them accountable when they do the wrong thing. We need to thank them and give that positive reinforcement when they're doing the right thing, for sure.
Definitely hit Ciscomani hopefully where it hurts.
Dan, have you got a question? You're muted.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear you.
Thank you. Sandy, yeah, I'm always alarmed at when Ruben Gallego starts talking about small modular reactors. He did an hour-long interview on the Dave Roberts podcast, Volts, and he seems to be all, in favor of just getting away with any restriction on routing utility lines. He wants that kind of deregulation. But he says all these little SMRs, they'll be perfect on our military bases. We have the built-in security. And I certainly don't want one of those built at Fort Huachuca, 35 miles from where I now live. And I don't think anyone would want one at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base if you're living in Tucson. So, this sounds like is what he really wants to do. It just kind of unnerves me.
Dave, it's funny because of course they're not economical, and there are all kinds of issues with them. They're also mentioned in the governor's executive order on the energy promise task force, and so that's another place where it would be helpful for people to let them know that that is not the direction we should be going. But yeah, we had a bill this last session that would have allowed co-location of small modular nuclear reactors with data centers, and bypassing like most of the regulation, like the Power Plant and Line Siting Committee, and also counties were preempted from, regulating where they could be sited. So that was Representative Carbone's bill, and I would be surprised if something like that wasn't back. Thank the governor for vetoing that one.
Thank you. I know there's going to be a lot more because you had a lot of areas that you covered there. Thank you. And Jana, I'm going to invite you to introduce our last speaker. Are you there, Jana? Is Jana gone?
I am
Apparently
not gone. I just
Oh, there you are.
having to open up my script. Okay. Kirsten Engel is a law professor at the University of Arizona College of Law, where she co-led the college's environmental law program since 2005. She is currently on leave, serving as the chief of the Environmental Protection Unit of the Arizona Office of the Attorney General. Throughout her career, Kirsten has used many opportunities that she has been afforded to work in the government or nonprofit sector to inform her teaching and scholarly research. Over her career, she has included positions as staff attorney for U.S. EPA Office of General Counsel in Washington, D.C., an associate attorney at the Sierra Club Legal Defense Fund, and as chief of the Environmental Protection Division at the Massachusetts Office of the Attorney General. Wow. It is perhaps her 5 years representing the legislative district at the Arizona House and Senate between 2017 and 2021 that constituted the pinnacle of Kirsten's public service work. During that time, Kirsten served as the ranking member of the National Resource Committees on both chambers, where she fought to safeguard Arizona's water resources, protect the state's unique desert ecosystems, and capitalize on the state's capacity to be a world leader in renewable energy. Kirsten, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jana. And great to see everyone. Really, and a lot of familiar faces out there.
Kirsten, I hate to introduce you right off the bat. Interrupt you right off the bat. If you can get any closer to your mic, you're a little softer than the
really?
prior speakers.
Okay, is that any better? I can just speak louder.
People can turn their own volume up.
Okay, is that good? Okay. Well, great to see everyone. Great to be on this panel. And I have to say, it was really Sandy that introduced me to that Arizona legislature. And for every environmental bill that I was able to champion, she was right there beside me, helping to lead the way. So delightful to be on this panel with her. And, you know, we've got in Priya, you know, exactly what we need in terms of a minority leader and hopefully Senate president in just a year's time. So we will we'll see how that goes. So as the introduction said, you know, I am somebody who I am a law professor, but I am, you know, very passionate about the environment, and I'm really an activist lawyer at heart. So I took this opportunity after running for Congress and not making it in to take this position at the Arizona Attorney General's office as the chief of the Environmental Protection Unit. And tonight I am appearing really in my personal capacity. I haven't vetted everything with that office, but I think I can talk about what's public that that we've done in that office. One thing to note about the Attorney General, I mean, you probably all know Chris Mays, and she is herself very passionate about energy issues and about the environment and about water. You know, she grew up in a rural part of the state, and so, you know, you get into rural issues dealing with energy and water, and she is really in her groove. She's got a lot on her plate, obviously. And even in the environmental space, because the Attorney General not only has the capacity to, you know, represent the Attorney General on matters, but she also, by statute, represents the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. I am not in the part of the office that represents ADEQ. I am in a new unit that she specifically set up to really, you know, work on her priorities on water and energy, on affirmative environmental positions, as opposed to representing the state agency. That sometimes can be a little bit difficult, but we're trying to make it work as well as possible. So that's just a good thing to know about an office of Attorney General. We're also a very small little office. We've only been in existence for about a year and a half. I've been there since March. We've got a ton on our plates. So we are working hard. Got a wonderful, passionate group of younger attorneys that I'm working with. So our priorities are very much ones that I think align with this Tucson group on you know, renewable energy and affordable energy for everyone. So I'd like to mention a couple things that our office is doing on that. Just yesterday, I believe, we announced our request for the Arizona Corporation Commission to rehear its approval of the Project Blue TEP side agreement. We find that agreement is quite astonishing in the way that it provides that the parties, TEP and Beal Infrastructure, can actually establish and modify the commission approved rates. And we think that they're really, for something this big and potentially precedent setting, there really should have been a lot more due process. So the bottom line is we're asking, the office has asked the commission to vacate their approval and to have an evidentiary hearing where they can really fully vet these questions of whether or not there will be any kind of, you know, making the other ratepayers pay for any part of the burden of bringing on such a large new load as we see in the Project Blue thing. Now, I briefly turned off my microphone because my husband just returned with our dogs. So hopefully that will not be loud. They just ran into the house. So anyway, all good. There's a lot of issues related to data centers coming in, and we heard from Priya about the subsidies, and truly Arizona has become kind of the preferred location for these data centers, which really have the capacity to change and potentially leave the ratepayers holding the bag. So we think it's really important to have due process and to make sure that these especially these side deals that are going on with utilities are fully vetted. The office has also intervened in the APS and TEP rate cases. So that'll be going on this spring. Another opportunity to, investigate those issues dealing with bringing on these large new loads in data centers, but also to look at, why are our energy rates so high? What is causing that? Is that rate of return really a fair rate of return? Or are the ratepayers overpaying for electricity? So those are some of the biggest issues that we have going on in our little unit with respect to renewable energy and just energy affordability.
Few minutes left.
Oh, okay. The other thing I'd like to mention is water. The case that you probably read about in the news, the lawsuit against the Fondamonte Saudi Arabian agricultural magnate in I guess it's La Paz County, is coming out of our office. That's still in litigation. And we will see how that goes, but really the Attorney General is trying to use whatever authority she has to really try to address the problem of depleting rural groundwater supplies, when unfortunately our legislature, because it's not led by Senator Sundareshan, has failed to address. This is a little bit of a teaser, but the Attorney General will have an announcement on Thursday in Sunsites or Pierce, Arizona, related to water this Thursday. So stay tuned on that. There will be another important announcement. Otherwise, there's all kinds of other things that we're trying to stay on top of with what capacity we have. Certainly, the Trump administration is working hard to repeal everything good that the Biden administration put in place: regulation of power plants, the endangerment finding for climate change, endangered species regulations. And we have been commenting on that, and most of those matters, I believe, will be going to litigation very soon, and we'll be joining with other states to challenge those repeals. So with that, I think I'll wrap up, but happy to take some questions.
All right. So again, we'll have 5 minutes of questions for Kirsten, and then see if we open it up from there. Go ahead, Bruce.
Hi, Kirsten. People frequently want to know if there's a way to get the Attorney General's office to opine on certain issues that come up where there seems to be a dispute about it. And could you explain or offer any suggestions about if that's possible, when that's possible, and how it's possible?
Bruce, first of all, great to see you. We were always trying to get Bruce to teach some classes at the law school. I hope we could still do that. Bruce, I don't entirely know. I'm not going to give you a thoroughly researched answer on that. I think that generally, if a matter presents an issue of statewide importance, constitutional issue, that makes it more likely to be one on which the Attorney General might issue an opinion. I think the Attorney General does have discretion as to what matters she might do that or not. It generally, those don't come out of my office, even if they're environmental. It's the solicitor's office in the Attorney General's office that right now is handling something like 35 lawsuits against the Trump administration. So getting them to write those kinds of opinions, I have to say it is a fairly high bar. If you can get a legislator on your side that might be also asking for that, that might help. I'm not saying that from anything in statute or anything, but just showing maybe the policy or weight of the issue. That would help the application for an opinion. But otherwise, it's just not. If we only did that, if the office only did that, it really wouldn't do anything else. So it is a high bar.
Perfect. Thanks.
Bob? Unmute.
Yeah, first of all, Kirsten, thank you very much for your almost 2 decades of leadership in the state. You're a key person, and we really appreciate your efforts and have mourned each election loss deeply. So, but very happy that you're making a difference at a higher level. So, one of the things that's coming up next Tuesday is Chris Mays's town hall on the radio issue. And the Greater Tucson Climate Coalition had a meeting last night. One of the things we talked about is developing some common talking points and questions we may raise at that town hall. And I would be interested in what you and Chris would like to hear from the activist community. As you know, the momentum in the activist community writ large is alternatives to the public service monopolies' control over electric generation and electric supply. That's overriding everyone. The affordability issue, it really does come down to, are there ways that we can get out of the stranglehold of a 100-year-old system that no longer works for our society? So would those kind of issues, big picture issues about the actual IOU model that we're struggling with right now, would that be an appropriate topic to bring up?
I really can't speak for the AG on this. She is, as you know, she is her own woman, her own AG. I think she would like to hear what's on your mind. She really would. That's the point of these town halls. I think she would like to hear what you all think are the most promising models, how what you are doing to explore those, which ones you think have the most potential, what's the time frame. So I to the extent that that's your priority, I absolutely, she would be all ears about that. And she would also like to hear your concerns about what is happening with the current monopoly utility that you are subject with in the meantime.
Yeah. Well, I know that she followed the tradition of Rens Jennings and was a leader 2 decades ago in bringing the renewable portfolio standard forward. And so we know that she's been our champion for many decades. So this is a great opportunity for all of us to have a conversation with her and thank her. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much for raising that. I really should have remembered that is coming up really fast. It's next Tuesday. It is it's from 11 to 12:30, and it's at the YMCA. Is that correct?
YW.
YWCA. Sorry.
Okay, we have, thank you very much, Kirsten, and thank you for all of our good questions. We can continue with questions, and now feel free to address them to anyone in particular. And I guess Trace and Paula, you're on the floor.
Well, actually, I was just going to give the details for the town hall on Tuesday. The YWCA is at 525 North Bonita Avenue. So easy to get to, and I encourage everyone to go with comments about the rates and the models that we would like to see happening here in Tucson and around Arizona. Thanks.
And I'll add just one more thing before we go into further questions. It's fine to ask a question if you already have, and let's make sure to give those who have not yet and may have a question a chance as well. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I just put in the chat here for those of us not living in Tucson any longer, and I'm sure a lot of people who might want to attend but can't get out in person on Tuesday night. Will there be some sort of coordination to stream this live?
I am sorry that I am not prepared with an answer to that, but I could certainly ask and send an email to this group.
It might be also a good thing to check on with the YW. So you give them a call.
This isn't the first town hall that she has done. She did do an energy town hall a few weeks back in Mesa, I believe. And I don't know whether it was live streamed or not, but I will check on that.
Go ahead, Stephen.
I think either Sandy or Kirsten or maybe Priya, any of them could answer this. But if the time runs out on the CAP negotiations before the federal government has to step in, how could that occur that you would avoid the federal stuff? And how would each of the offices, whether it be legislature or your office, Kirsten, or Sandy, your advocacy, handle that issue? In other words, is there any way to avoid getting to the point where we have to have the feds step in on the CAP?
I think I could jump in. So the current ask and the current approach is that the states are supposed to be talking to each other and negotiating and to come up with an agreement amongst themselves. Then that the federal government has been for the last few years asking the states to do that and reach an agreement so that they don't have to make any choices themselves. Unfortunately, unfortunately, there have been deadlines set by the federal government that the states have just not met. And so the last deadline was November 11th, and the states did not have an agreement by then. And so now the federal government is saying, okay, well, these guidelines run out in 26, so we need something in place by 27. We're going to have to start the NEPA process. And so they have basically given an extended deadline to February or earlier mid-February for the states to come up with something. But it really just seems like the federal government does not want to have to pick favorites amongst the states. I'm not sure that, the states want that either, because who knows who the Trump administration favors really these days. And but if it gets to a point where there is no time and the guidelines, the 2007 guidelines run out, then nobody knows what will happen. I mean, it returns to a previous version of the law of the river, and there are going to be failures from the upper basin to deliver the amount of water that the lower basin wants. And so we're going to probably get into a place where the states are going to file lawsuits against each other. And that is why, and Sandy mentioned this, and she's right, it's not a solution, but the state of Arizona has allocated, I think, $3 million for the Department of Water Resources to begin that litigation if it needs to.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is from our end, if that happens, and even if that doesn't happen, we are going to try to continue to get some acknowledgement of the need to address the health of the river, to be concerned about the fact that we could be in a position where there is not water flowing through Grand Canyon on the Colorado River. These dead pool potential is there, and you know, yeah. So we're going to just keep working on that. And we said when they did the agreement that they were just kicking the can down the road, and indeed, here we are down the road. See can. Yeah. Anyway.
Thanks for your efforts, Sandy. I know you've spent a lot of time on this issue.
And I can verify that is exactly what Sandy said back in 2019 when we voted for that extension. Yeah, kicking the can.
Bruce?
I do want to thank Priya and Sandy and Kirsten all for coming. That you heroes as far as I'm concerned, and all of us, all of you are really, really big, pat on the back. I can't really reach through the screen to pat you on the back, but if I could, I would. I did want to follow up on one thing that Priya said, which is if the states sue each other, as I recall, that would be in the Supreme Court. Is that correct? And so then we're once again putting our water fate in the hands of people that probably have never been anywhere near the river and don't know much of anything about it, or the West or anything else. And I don't know what we can do about it, but that's one more worry, it seems like, on that whole department. That was more of a comment than a question, I have to say.
If we can avoid getting there, that would be great.
Yeah, it would not be good. Thanks, Bruce, though, for the comments of support.
Go ahead, Stuart.
Given the problems that we might face that you've all expressed so clearly relative to the Colorado River, what is being done to approach people with the art and philosophy of true negotiation? Clearly, that's been left out somehow.
Well, you know as well as we do that the political climate is not one that encourages negotiation. It's and we're certainly not seeing it modeled on the federal level. So I think even people who try to bring that into the room, it's you to negotiate, there have to be willing parties, and there has to be listening as well as talking. So, I mean, I think some of the people do that that I know, but there just aren't enough willing parties.
So are you saying that actually there aren't any people who have access to those decision makers to get a word in the whisper in the ear of the Queen and the King?
Well, I don't know. I was not at the Colorado River. If you're talking about the Colorado River stuff, I was not at that conference. But my take on it is that there would need to be some, something more than just the fact that the federal government might do something. They would have to have some kind of specific proposal that would force the parties to come together to negotiate. Because at this point, it seems like everyone is really dug in.
I'm going to invite Skip to ask your question. Go ahead, Skip. If you could unmute. There you go.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. And Kirsten, Sandy, and holy cow, Priya, good to see all three of you, and with a good appreciation for the leadership. And Kirsten, so long ago that, wow, I began my sabbatical in 2011, and we're still debating climate issues. And I'm wondering if I can ask all three of you, as I've shared with you, Kirsten, in an email from another conversation we had. I'm one of 15,800 scientists from 167 countries, and I'm talking about countries ranging from Morocco, Egypt, and the Cameroon, to Russia, China, and the U.S., that warn that we're hurtling towards a climate chaos. It's not just a subtle shift in the economy, but it's a chaos that's emerging. The planet's vital signs are flashing red, and the consequences of, as we've said, human-driven alterations of the climate are no longer future threats, but they're here now. So how can we do a better job of elevating that within the legislative perspective, but within the larger body politic and the policy arena as well? So it's a critical issue. I think we don't really appreciate the larger body politic, the scale, and the threat that's at risk if we don't take a more proactive action with huge opportunities that can generate more jobs, more employment, more well-being for our communities, our neighborhoods, and the like. So I'd love to get your takeaways on what we can do to elevate that perspective. But thanks to all of you.
Kirsten, you want to go first, or?
I just wanted to say, Skip.
Yeah, are you warm?
No, I'm. For your. Whoops. No, Skip, thank you for your leadership on this and always reminding us of the economic benefits of clean energy and addressing the climate crisis. Super, super important. I think anything we could do to really make this very concrete and connect it to things like the water crisis. I found that, in the legislature, I couldn't talk about climate change, but I could talk about drought. People really worried about that. And that you can, get in, look, even if you don't accept climate change, hopefully you can see that the current ways in which we're using energy uses even more water that we don't have. So any inroads that you can make on these issues to keep them present in front of people so that they see the connections to these real impacts. And heat-related deaths, it is just skyrocketed, folks. And that really kind of shakes people up. People dying in their homes. It's really very scary.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in to say that, Skip, I think your question has really motivated my career evolution. And I do think that the answer is more civic engagement and engagement in the political process, because I at one time thought I want to go work at nonprofits and advocate and make the best case. But I, now have seen that, power is really what it takes. And we need to actually, there are people who are willfully shutting their eyes to these facts and these realities, right? And there's a lot of money behind why they want to keep the status quo the way it is and keep their profits the way they are. And so we just need to, we need to fight back, and I need to take power so that I can make some changes to the laws that we can enforce, and we have to do that at every level.
Okay, looks like there's time for about one more question, and I'm going to invite Rhonda, who has not yet had a chance to please go ahead. Unmute. Yeah.
Thank you. I wasn't really I'm kind of asking a question to everybody. I'm coming down to Tucson, bear down. Used to work at KVOA a very long time ago, so came out of the media business. Now I'm a board member on the Arizona Media Foundation, and we're going to be meeting with Kevin Dahl, the council member, and some other nonprofits. And my focus is to try to get the Media Foundation to get enough funding to get journalists in newsrooms covering climate across the state. So if any of you have interest or connections or in learning more about that, you can email me at rhonda@earthgives.org, rhonda@earthgives.org. I'm setting up a meeting with Kevin. That's on Monday, the 12th. I'll be down there meeting with our third act folks, Betsy Wilkening and some other folks related to the U of A on Tuesday. So if anyone wants to meet, chat, or be part of that meeting to see what we can do to get more coverage on climate change and all the issues that were talked about today, please let me know. I want to make this happen for us.
Thank you, Rhonda. And I'm going to have to say that took the time, not from our question and answer, but from the announcements, which was going to come after. So I'm going to give, whether it's Trace or Paul, a chance also to proceed with the question.
Okay, I'd like to raise a slightly different subject, although it relates to water. And that's the whole issue of the mines in southern Arizona. There was an article, I think just today I read about finding antimony in the water near the Patagonia mine. And I was wondering if there's anything, I'd open it to any of the three of you, anything that can be done at the state level, legislatively, AG's office, something that could help us still at this point fight against what's going on with the mines, the excess use of water and the pollution, both water and air pollution that they're going to be creating.
Well, the state legislature could do something about that. The mines are very lightly regulated in Arizona. They have huge exemptions relative to water use. And even if you look at the Aquifer Protection Permit statute, most of the exemptions are for some kind of mining activity. But we would need for Senator Sundareshan to be president of the Senate, I think, to get some regulations through. There may be.
Oh.
Okay. He may not be frozen, but we lost connection.
What?
Pushing back, writing good comments, organizing, and so, yeah.
All right. That concludes this portion of our program. I do want to open it to announcements. Well, let's not close that way though. Let's thank again. Let's give a hand to our speakers. I don't know if that works on Zoom, but let's try it. Thank you very much, each of you, and thank you also to everyone who is a part of this meeting for bringing your best thoughts to our ability or our opportunities to act for sustainability. I know that there are at least 3 announcements I am aware of. If you have one, please raise your hand and we will take them in order. Jana?
Hi, so I'm Jana Siegel-Stormont, and I'm the head of the Water Committee and Environmental Advocacy email. So there is so much important stuff going on about water, and actually really a lot of really bad bills going on at the state legislature. If you want to push back, I feel like we really need to push back on these bills. You can sign up for the Request to Speak system. Sandy has an email list, where she sends out Request to Speak actions. And even if the idea is that you weigh in on them while they're still in committee, and hopefully we can stop the bad bills. But even if we can't, if like 200 people or 400 people do the Request to Speak thing and say that it's bad, it's giving power to our governor to veto those bills. So please sign up for Request to Speak. If you would like to get our Request to Speak actions, you can email me at jana@sustainabletucson.org. Also, the Water Committee will be talking particularly about talking to your legislature about water. So we'll talk about some of the big water issues that are coming up And again, a little bit more details on how to do request to speak, because it can be a little tricky when you're first doing it. So please join us on January 26th at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And you can email me at Jana@SustainableTucson and ask for a link to that. Anyway, thanks so much for all of you for coming, and it's so important. It's so important.
Trace or Paula.
Yeah, I just wanted to repeat a message that I made at the very beginning, because some of you all weren't here. If you do not yet get, but would like to get the Sustainable Tucson newsletter, name and email address to me at paula@sustainabletucson.org. And if you do have the newsletter, I'd like to encourage you to fill out the survey that was included in it, so that we have a lot of input from all of you on desires for program planning, how to get involved, how you would like to get involved, and where we need to go from here as we celebrate our 20th anniversary. Thank you.
Stuart?
Thank you, Trace. And I'll just add to all those wonderful thanks to Priya, Sandy, and Kirsten. The Sustainable Tucson Ambassadors is an idea that was actually brought about through Jana. Jana is a veritable idea generator, and so many good ideas have come from her that we've followed through on for a number of years now. Our next program has begun, but we are going to let more people in who would like to. It's on January 10th, and then 10 more Saturdays after that, 10 to noon each day in the morning. Great readings. Laura Key is helping organize this. She's an environmental educator with a sharp eye and a good sense of what's going to get people motivated. We're dedicated to action, and that's clearly what today's been about. And that action is based on a deepening understanding of the issues and the structures that can build the constituency for sustainability and the political will. And the second thing I'd like to tell you about is this Saturday also, but just this Saturday, Nancy Orr is hosting a Letters from the Heart session where people come together for perhaps an hour, even an hour and a half at the Woods Memorial Library, a little bit northern part of Tucson, and sit together and write some thank you letters to people like Chris Mays and Katie Hobbs and Priya and others, to let them know that if we've got their backs and that we really care about what they're doing. We might put in a few requests also. So it'll be in the spirit of uplifting our own hearts and the hearts of those who are doing this very, very hard work. Sandy's made clear that this is not enough. Letter writing is good, but it is not sufficient, but it can be good still. And often for some people, that's the beginning of their advocacy journey, is to write a good few letters to people and then start getting more involved.
I had not anticipated making this announcement, but I will do my best. And I want to start by recognizing the Sustainable Tucson's most recent and most energetic board member, Skip Leitner, who shared some tonight and asked an excellent question and always asks very probing questions that lead us to think a lot together on economics, on energy and metabolism and economics and life and all of these things mixed together. We have a project that is called, sort of temporarily, Investing in People and Infrastructure. And perhaps we'll come up with a better name. But this is an attempt to bring awareness and enthusiasm to the opportunities that we have to improve our economy by renewing our energy sources and investing properly and heavily as needed so that we can have sustainability in southern Arizona. There will be a summit on this topic, and Skip and other board members have been working every week for several months now organizing a summit for late March. It's going to be March 28, 29, hosted by Pima County Community College on the West Campus. I hope I have that right. And you are invited to, at least at this point, pencil that into your calendar and be ready for more details as the date approaches.
Downtown campus, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see, Bruce.
So one last comment in the not everything is doom and gloom. That is that the governor's office of resiliency is still moving ahead with the instant rebates for a number of energy efficiency items for your home. If you qualify, and there's information at their website called Efficiency Arizona, you could qualify for an on-the-spot rebate that would help you purchase a heat pump water heater, a heat pump dryer, and a number of other things. This is not to be confused with the federal tax credits that all went away, courtesy of the oh so bad bill from last year. The state program is still in effect, and for people who were eligible for it, it's a very significant saving that comes off the top of the purchase. So go to Efficiency Arizona and take a look if you're interested in electrifying your house. And if you want more information along that line, please take a look at the website of goelectricaz.org that a number of us are involved in.